A mother-in-law switched a pregnancy test to separate her son from his wife. I knew something was off the moment Linda offered to help clean the bathroom. My mother-in-law hadn't lifted a sponge in decades, not even at her own place. She claimed she was allergic to bleach, to vinegar, to dust. So when she showed up with rubber gloves and a smile wide as the Mississippi, I knew she was up to something. She never liked me, not from day one. Said I was too quiet, too opinionated, too independent. All the things that made her son, Greg, fall in love with me. But to her, I was the wedge, the one who stole her baby boy. When Greg and I announced we were trying for a baby, her fake smile twitched. She hugged me, stiff as a fence post, and whispered, "I hope you're ready. Motherhood isn't for everyone." That was Linda for you. Sweet tea with arsenic. Anyway, one Thursday morning, I left a pregnancy test on the bathroom counter. Greg had just gone to work, and I hadn't looked at the result yet. I was too nervous. It had been 3 months of disappointment already. I wanted a quiet moment to breathe before I checked. That's when Linda dropped by. Said she was in the neighborhood. Said she brought muffins. But her eyes kept darting to the bathroom like they were magnetized. I was in the kitchen when I heard the flush. When I finally walked in, the test was gone. The wrapper too. In its place was a new one. Same brand, still damp, reading a bold, unmistakable "not pregnant." Now I ain't slow. I knew right then she'd swapped it. But I didn't say a word. Not yet. Because sometimes the best way to catch a fox is to let it think it's gotten away. That night, Greg came home whistling like a man without a worry. He kissed me on the forehead, dropped his lunch cooler by the door, and asked how my day was. I told him, straight-faced, calm. I took a test today. Not pregnant. He frowned, nodded, then gave me a half-hearted squeeze. That's okay. We'll keep trying. I waited for him to mention his mom's visit. He didn't. She hadn't told him she stopped by. That said everything. 2 days later, I went to the pharmacy and bought another box, 2 tests inside. I took one at work, in the locked staff restroom. Positive. Clear as daylight. I took a picture with the date and time on my phone. That night, I told Greg again. Actually, I think the first test was wrong. Took another one at work. It was positive. He blinked. Really? Then his phone buzzed. He glanced down, and his face changed. It's Mom. She said she's stopping by. I watched him, trying to read the pieces of the puzzle he didn't know he was holding. His smile looked more forced than before. Linda showed up 20 minutes later with lasagna and stories about her neighbor's gout. When I told her I was pregnant, she almost dropped the casserole. "Oh, are you sure? Maybe it's a false positive," she said. "You know how those tests can be." I smiled back, sugar sweet. "I'm sure." Her lips twitched like they wanted to curl into a frown, but she caught herself. "Well, congratulations." Later that night, I snuck into the bathroom cabinet. Found an empty wrapper shoved behind the drain pipe. Not the brand I bought. Same box, different lot number. She'd swapped it. Linda had come into my house, dug through my trash, and planted a fake result just to mess with me. To wedge herself between Greg and me. But I wasn't going to confront her just yet. I needed proof. And I had a plan. I ain't the vengeful type by nature, but I was raised by a trucker and a barmaid. 2 folks who believed in keeping receipts. So that weekend, while Greg was off helping his buddy fix a deck, I made my move. I installed a little $29 camera inside the hallway air vent, pointed straight at the bathroom door. Tiny thing, wouldn't catch a squirrel's sneeze unless it was aimed right. Then I waited. Linda came over the next morning with extra groceries, like I didn't already know she lived to snoop. I played it casual. "Oh, I might have left another test out," I said with a shrug. "Just wanted to double-check before calling the doctor." She perked up like a hunting dog. "Well, let me tidy up the bathroom for you. That place gets dusty." I nodded and let her go. 38 minutes later, she left. I kissed her goodbye like she was family, because technically, she still was. Then I checked the footage. And there it was. Linda, pulling latex gloves out of her purse, reaching into the inside pocket of her coat, and taking out a sealed test identical to mine. Same wrapper, same brand. She carefully replaced the one I left, flushed the original, and smiled at her reflection. Like she'd just won something. When Greg got home that night, I showed him the video. His mouth hung open. What? Why would she do that? I didn't blink. You tell me. He sat down hard, put his head in his hands. "She told me last month that she thought you were trying to trap me, that you'd lie about being pregnant to get your way." That's when the blood drained from my face. She'd been poisoning the well long before I noticed. But the real storm hadn't even started. Because I wasn't just going to catch her. I was going to show her what real family looks like and what happens when you mess with it. The next morning, I invited Linda over for brunch. Waffles, strawberries, and just enough tension in the air to slice with a butter knife. Greg sat quiet, barely touching his plate. I, on the other hand, was all smiles. After the coffee was poured, I looked straight at her. Linda, I need to show you something. She paused, fork midair. Of course, dear. I pulled out my phone, hit play on the footage. Her face changed by the 10th second. By the 20th, she'd gone still. A minute in, she was pale. The video ended with her flushing the test. I didn't speak. Neither did Greg. Linda finally opened her mouth. This is an invasion of privacy. I leaned forward. You trespassed. You tampered with something deeply personal. You lied. In my house. Greg finally looked at her, voice low. Why, Mom? She didn't answer right away. Her fingers trembled as she reached for her mug. I didn't think she was right for you, Greg. I thought she was manipulating you. I was trying to protect you. By gaslighting us. I snapped. By faking a test result and hoping I'd what? Leave? Cry? Break down and run off? She blinked hard. You're not what I pictured for my son. You're strong. Too strong. And that scared you? I asked, my voice steady. She nodded, a single tear sliding down her cheek. Yes. Greg pushed back from the table. That's not love, Mom. That's control. The silence that followed was thick with years of unspoken battles. Linda reached for him, but he stepped away. I think it's best you leave for now, he said quietly. And she did. No yelling. No crying. Just the quiet shuffle of a woman who realized too late that the game had changed. After the door clicked shut, Greg turned to me. I'm sorry. I nodded. We're not done with her. But we're not breaking either. He took my hand. And for the first time in weeks, we felt like a team again. The fallout started slow. A call here. A text there. Greg's cousins. His aunt. Even his Uncle Bill, who only showed up for funerals and brisket. Linda had been busy. She'd spun a story about how I was manipulative, how I spied on her, how Greg had been brainwashed by a controlling wife. Classic play, wounded mother paints herself the victim. So Greg and I called a family meeting. Neutral ground, his cousin's garage. Folding chairs, lemonade, tension. I stood there in front of 6 adults, people who'd known Greg since diapers, and laid it all out. The video, the test, the manipulation, every last detail. When I finished, I played the recording again, just once. Aunt Maggie covered her mouth. She really did that. Uncle Bill just said, Jesus. But the worst came from Greg's cousin Leah, who spoke so quiet, I almost didn't hear. She did that to my sister too. Heads turned. Eyes widened. Leah looked down. Years ago, before her wedding, Linda told her the groom had cheated, showed her a fake message thread, caused a 2-month breakup. She only admitted it after they got back together. The room fell into a stunned silence. And just like that, the spell broke. Linda wasn't just meddling. She was toxic. Everyone saw it. Greg stood next to me, calm as a man who finally saw the fire behind the smoke. I love my mom, he said. But this ends here. If she wants a place in our life, in our kid's life, she's got to earn it. The family nodded. No one argued. Later that night, Greg blocked her number. And for the first time in years, I slept through the night. A few weeks passed. Linda stayed quiet. No texts. No calls. Greg's phone stayed cold, his shoulders a little looser. And the baby? Still growing. Doctor confirmed it on the 2nd visit. Healthy heartbeat, steady progress. When we heard that little thump-thump on the monitor, Greg squeezed my hand so tight I thought he'd break it. We started talking names over dinner. Nothing fancy, just tossing him around like pebbles in a stream. He liked Elijah for a boy. I liked June for a girl. After my grandmother, the only woman in my life who ever taught me strength didn't have to be loud. One night, after a long walk and some raspberry leaf tea, I found a letter on our front step. No envelope. Just folded paper with my name scribbled in Linda's slanted hand. Greg opened it with me, sitting close. It read, I did what I thought was best. I was wrong. I see now how far I went, and I'm ashamed. I'm sorry for interfering. I want to meet my grandchild one day, but I'll wait until you say it's okay. I won't cross another line. I promise. No excuses. No crying. Just words. I didn't know if I believed her. Greg didn't either. but it was the first time she'd taken responsibility for anything. I folded the letter and tucked it away. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But maybe a crack in the wall. That night, Greg put his hand on my belly and whispered, "You've already got a better start than I did." We didn't speak after that. Just sat there, the three of us, him, me, and a baby the size of a lemon. Quiet in the house that was finally ours again. We were maybe 16 weeks in when the second envelope arrived. This one wasn't from Linda. It was from a private lab in Texas. No return name, just a P.O. box and a barcode sticker on the back. Inside, a prenatal DNA test kit. One of those non-invasive ones. Swab the cheek, mail it in, get your answers. No note. No explanation. Just the kit. Greg and I stared at it like it had fangs. "Do you think?" I asked. He shook his head. "No way. No one else even knows we're expecting." But someone did. I checked the order number. Traced the billing address online. Linda. She'd sent it. Quietly. Sneaky. No apology could cover this. It wasn't just that she didn't trust me. She was trying to prove something. Greg was furious. Not the shouting kind of mad. The cold, quiet kind. The kind that simmers. "I gave her a chance," he said. "One. That's it." He blocked her again. But I was torn. I wanted to cut her off completely. Rip the roots and burn the soil. But part of me, the tired part, the soon-to-be mom part, wondered if our kid would grow up asking why grandma wasn't around. So I made a decision. I mailed the test. Not to her lab. To a different one, mine. Along with a note. "You want proof? Here it is. Not because you deserve it, but because my child deserves peace. After this, don't ever question my loyalty, my word, or my family again. You get this one truth. No more." I CC'd the results to Greg. When they came back, 99% his. I printed them out, slid them into a manila envelope, and dropped them at her door. No signature. No note. Just truth. Let her choke on it. And then we moved forward. Not because she was ready, but because we were. We planned the shower for a Saturday in April. Backyard, spring breeze, lemonade in mason jars. Marcy, my rock through all this, offered her place since it had more shade and a grill. "You worry about the baby," she said. "I'll handle the rest." Greg helped string up banners. Blue and yellow. We didn't want to know the gender, wanted it to be a surprise. A good one, I told him. Not like the ones your mother likes to deliver. We didn't invite Linda, but she heard. We know because 2 days before the shower, Marcy got an anonymous call. "Just letting you know that girl's been lying about the pregnancy. You might want to cancel before people get embarrassed." The voice was scratchy, southern drawl, but strained like someone trying to sound calm while seething. Marcy didn't tell me until after. She handled it. "You come near my house," she said to the caller, "and you'll be leaving with a police report and a black eye." That's why I love that woman. The day of the shower was perfect. Sunny, breezy, people laughing, hugging. Even Greg's cousin Leah came with a tiny crocheted hat she'd made herself. But there was one chair no one touched. A folding chair in the corner, empty as a ghost. It was supposed to be for Greg's mom. Before all this. Before the switch, the video, the DNA test, the lies. I saw Greg glance at it once. Just once. He didn't say a word. After cake and gifts and a game involving melted candy bars and diapers, don't ask, Marcy pulled me aside. "Don't let her ruin this in your head," she said. "She missed this. Not you. You're here. You're strong. And your baby? Already surrounded by love." I nodded, took a breath, and for once, I believed it. Water broke at 3:12 a.m. on a stormy Thursday. Greg was up in a flash, pants backward, keys in hand. He'd rehearsed this moment so many times it was almost funny. The man was ready for combat. By 4 a.m., we were in a birthing suite, lights low, monitors beeping steady. The world blurred into nurses, ice chips, and contractions sharp enough to split mountains. Our baby arrived at 9:46 a.m. Tiny, wrinkled, loud. A girl. I looked at her face, all pink and furious, and the name just spilled out. June. Like the promise of something warm after a long cold stretch. Greg cried. I didn't even know he could cry like that. I held June to my chest and felt something rearrange inside me. Something primal, quiet, permanent. That night, the hospital was calm. Visitors were limited, which we liked. Then, right around 7 p.m., a nurse peeked her head in. "There's someone here. Says she's the baby's grandmother. Do you want me to send her away?" Greg looked at me. I didn't answer right away. The old me, the one before the test, before the switch, before the pain, might have said no. Might have stood firm. But this new me? I looked down at June, asleep in my arms. So unaware. So safe. Then I nodded. 5 minutes. No more. The nurse returned 10 minutes later. She left. Didn't want to disturb. She just dropped this. It was a box. Inside, a blanket. Hand-stitched. Pale yellow. The kind old women make with fingers that remember how to soothe. Tucked in the folds was a card. For June. If I'm not worthy of knowing her, at least let her be warm. I'm sorry. I will be, for the rest of my life. I didn't cry. I didn't forgive. But I kept the blanket. Because sometimes, grace isn't about them. It's about the kind of mother I want to be. We brought June home 2 days later. Our little house had never felt smaller. Diapers stacked in corners, bassinet in the living room, bottles in the fridge, baby powder on every surface like snowfall. Chaos, but the kind that meant something. We barely slept. Greg took to walking her around the house at 3 a.m., mumbling lullabies and grocery lists like prayers. A week passed. Then 2. We started to settle. That's when the knock came. It was a Sunday. I was half asleep on the couch, June cradled against my chest like a warm loaf. Greg opened the door. Linda. No flowers. No gift bag. Just herself, standing in the sun with a look that said she hadn't slept much either. I'm not here to cause trouble, she said. I know I've lost your trust. I know I don't deserve anything. Greg didn't move. Didn't open the screen door. I just want to ask one question, she said, voice quiet. He raised an eyebrow. Can I say goodbye? That caught me. I stood slowly, June still nestled in my arms. Walked to the door. Opened it halfway. Linda's eyes landed on the baby. She didn't reach for her. Didn't step forward. Just looked. I'll never forgive myself, she said. But I needed to see her face once. Just to know what I gave up. She turned to leave. But something in me, something I didn't understand yet, called out. Wait. She stopped. 5 minutes. You sit. You don't speak unless I say. And you hold her only if I hand her to you. Understood? Linda nodded, tears already falling. We sat in silence. June snored softly. Linda just watched, her hands folded tight, lips trembling. When I finally placed June in her arms, it was like watching a storm collapse into itself. No sobbing. No theatrics. Just a woman holding a piece of something she used to control and finally realizing she never did. Her tears fell onto the blanket she'd made. When she handed June back, she whispered one word. Thank you. Then she left. No promises. No grand gestures. Just a goodbye. But even goodbyes have consequences. Because 3 days later, a letter arrived. Not from Linda this time. From Greg's father. And what he had to say? The envelope was thick. Old-fashioned parchment. Addressed to Greg in sharp, neat handwriting I didn't recognize. Greg read it in silence. Then handed it to me. Inside was a letter. 5 pages. Dated 3 weeks before June was born. Gregory, you deserve the truth about your mother and about me. I've stayed out of your life by choice. But what she's done now, I can't stay quiet anymore. When you were born, she changed. Became consumed with being needed. Smothering. Controlling. It wasn't always out of love. Sometimes, it was out of fear. Fear of being left behind. She made choices, terrible ones, in the name of family. You don't know this, but she drove your sister away. Told her lies about me. Made her believe I cheated, abandoned you both. I didn't. I left because I couldn't protect you. And because she told me if I fought for custody, she'd tell the court I was abusive. I wasn't. Never touched a hair on either of your heads. But I was weak. And weak men leave. I followed your life from a distance. I saw the engagement photos. The baby announcement. And when I heard what Linda did, I knew. She hadn't changed. I want you to know, you are not her. You are better. Stronger. And if that little girl grows up with even a shred of your heart, she's going to be just fine. If you ever want to meet, really talk, I'm here. But no pressure. I know I have no right to ask. Take care of your family. Break the cycle. Alan. Greg folded the letter. His face was unreadable. Still. Too still. He didn't speak for a long time. Then, finally, he was real. He tried. She lied about all of it. I reached out, rested my hand on his. He looked at me, eyes glassy. We're going to raise her different, he said. No lies. No secrets. Not ever. That night, he wrote back. And for the first time in Greg's life, He opened a door his mother had spent decades nailing shut. What came next? Greg met Alan 2 weeks later. Neutral ground again. A park by the river, benches shaded by trees older than both of them. He came home quiet, but not heavy. He's not perfect, he said, but he's honest, and I can work with that. Alan didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't beg for time, just said he'd be whatever Greg needed, even if that was nothing. That humility? That was new in Greg's world. We invited him over for Sunday dinner a month later. He held June with trembling hands, told her she had her dad's chin and her mama's fire. I watched Greg watch him, wary but softening, like a man who'd finally seen the edge of his map and found land on the other side. Linda never called again. She sent one final letter before June's first birthday, short, handwritten, sealed with pressed flowers. I know I've lost your trust. I won't ask for more. Just know that I love her. I will love her quietly, from a distance, if that's what she needs. We didn't reply, but we didn't tear it up either. It stayed in the drawer with June's birth certificate and hospital bracelet, a relic of what almost was, a warning of what won't be. June's growing now, talks with her hands, runs like the wind, and loves asking questions I don't have answers for yet. Sometimes, she points at the blanket Linda made, still folded neatly on the rocking chair, and asks who gave it to her. I always say the same thing. A woman who had a lot to learn. And that's the truth. Because we all learn, one way or another. Some of us through love, some through loss, and some through a single, quiet line on a little plastic test that changes everything.